This is the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. It's presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. This week on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, it's a basketball frenzy with Ada-Borup-West boys basketball coach Nate Mccraven, Fosston boys basketball coach Ben Hemberger, also Thompson boys basketball coach Brady Schwab, and Lisbon girls basketball coach Barb will join the conversation. And our senior spotlight this week is with a Central Cast squirrel. Elise Wisnewski will talk with Elise on her commitment to North Dakota State University track and field. But let's dive into our coaches show. Here's our very own Kevin Kochman talking with Ada-Borup-West boys basketball coach Nate Mccraven.
An opportunity to visit with Ada-Borup-West boys basketball head coach Nate Mccraven as the Cougars open the season 2-0. And Coach, I know as we chat here on Wednesday, fresh off of a dogfight of a game against Park Christian on Tuesday night, the way the season has started for you guys, two challenging contests, a win over Hawley and then a win over Park Christian, both road games. You're going to go on the road again Thursday night. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first couple of games underway. You've had kind of a tale of two games almost, so to speak. You got a little bit of everything from your first two opponents.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at our first three games, we knew they were going to be challenging games, especially being on the road. Fourth game is now easier too, but at least it's at home. Hawley, a double-A school, brought back some talented kids from last year's team that we knew we'd have to deal with. The second half, I thought we really took control of the game and kind of were able to, go on a little run there at the end to create some distance, some separation there. But that definitely was not you might look at it and say it was, I think, an 18-point game or something like that. That wasn't really till the last probably 5-6 minutes of the game that we were able to kind of pull away with that. It was a back and forth battle most of the game. And then, like you said, last night in Park Christian, holy man, they have improved a ton. They do a great job. Their guys play really well together. They start three sophomore guards. They were missing their junior big guy their first game of the year, and they really didn't look too great. So I think they were hungry to kind of prove what kind of team they were against us. And man, they gave us everything we wanted and some. So, but like you said, 2 wins on the road at the start of the year. You can't get any better than that. We've been tested in both games, and we've come back with things to get better with. So it's been good.
I thoroughly enjoyed, just taking a look at what this season has to look at. You've got a lot of great opportunity in Thursday night at Cass Lake Bena, as Minnesota Basketball News comes out with their posting here this week. Cougars sitting at number 6 in the state in Class A in this early season ranking, which as rankings are rankings, but certainly still need to be recognized. And Northwest Minnesota is very well recognized. That being said, Cass Lake Bena is ranked number 2 this week in the preseason, early season ranking. As you very well know and would expect, you got a really tough competition with Cass Lake Bena.
Yeah, if you look and talk about the rankings there, and yeah, it's great to be in those rankings and get recognized. That kind of shows the work our guys have done, up until this year and coming in. So it's nice to have that respect, but now you got to prove it. One thing that really stands out in those rankings for me is, I think of the top 10, I haven't seen new ones this week, but I saw the first ones. The top 10, I think we play 6 of those teams this year. So, yeah. We are super excited about the schedule. We say we want to play the top teams because that's going to make us better come March and get us playoff tested. And we had a tough schedule last year, but I think we really put an exclamation point on the schedule this year by adding. We've always played Cass Lake Bena, or at least we had the last few years. Of course, our conference schedule is tough with your Fertles and your Fostons and your Monoman Wobbins and Park Christians and all the teams in the Pine Prairie Conference. We added a Nevis this year. We get to go on the road and play Cherry, who's I think probably the number 1 team in Class A right now. So
yep.
Added a Henning to the schedule too, moving to Section 6. So we're super excited about the schedule. It's going to be fun. Every night is going to present a new challenge. And like I said, come March, I don't think really teams are going to be able to throw much at us that we haven't already seen. So
it is special when you have a kind of a season that you're anticipating too, with a team that should be very competitive and has high aspirations. You certainly look at that as something that having a difficult schedule and challenges every night should be a challenge. You don't want to go into a game knowing that, the superior teams, things of that nature. We know that those do exist. At the same time, having that extra challenging schedule will hopefully bode well for March.
Yes, for sure. Cass Lake on Thursday. we don't have a lot of time to get ready for them. We don't have much to go off of. It's their first game of the year too. So, but I think you're going to see two talented teams on the floor, and both teams are going to learn a lot about each other and be able to come away with things. They're going to be probably, hopefully, different teams come March, but this is kind of the journey of basketball where early on in the year, getting tested and kind of seeing where you're at is always fun. Winning 2 games in a row, starting off 2-0 is fun, but the improvement you make throughout December into January is kind of the journey of basketball, and that's going to be a lot of fun with this ride and this group of kids.
And December basketball, you don't need to put a ton of impact on that. It's not going to make or break your team right now, but the journey. So with that being said, a lot of people know about the guard play of the Cougars. You were talking after the game against Hawley about, Mason Larson and Charlie Shaw, two that really, the interior side of things, that also is something that has to be really recognized, and may not always be the tallest group out there, may not always be the most athletic out there. You've got a really good balance.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously our 3 guards, Wyatt Larson in with Cam, Caden, and Austin, who have played a ton of minutes. Throw Wyatt Larson in the mix there, who's been waiting for an opportunity. And then Anders Tingham is a young sophomore for us too that has done a lot of good things this summer and is looking good. And we're excited to see him improve and develop as the year goes on. But then Mason Larson has totally changed his body just by being in the weight room. Really loves football, also really loves basketball. I don't know if you asked him which one was his favorite. He'd probably depend on what season it is, maybe. But he's got it. I think I said on Friday night, he's got kind of a monster inside of him that his personality really he's really, really mild mannered and kind of can stand off to the side. But if we can get him to kind of command the ball a little bit more on offense, he's capable of scoring 20 on any given night. And then of course, Charlie Shaw is Charlie Shaw. Charlie Shaw kind of has that, I don't know, he's kind of the mix between the modern day basketball player with the old school style. He's doing the step throughs and the shot fakes. And a lot of times it's like, oh, Charlie, don't shoot that shot. But here again, last night, he had a couple step throughs where he got some and ones and some big buckets for us down the stretch. So Lance Kritzberger in that mix too, as well, as kind of one of our bigs. Again, they're not 6'6", they're not 6'5", but they're all about 6'3" to 6'2" ish area. They're athletic, they're strong, they're smart kids. Baron Auden as well. He's more of your 6'4", 6'5" guy too. That just absolutely is relentless as far as his effort goes, and his rebounding is something that we'll definitely look to upon when maybe we're struggling on the boards or anything like that. So we're excited about those, especially those top 9, and then we got a couple other younger guys too that are playing some JV minutes that are looking well too. So.
It'll be a lot of fun. Great season. Like we mentioned, Thursday night on yourliveevent.com. You've got a trip to Cass Lake Bena. Should be a dandy. And then you work in Lake Park Audubon Friday. Also a good test in the conference. So, two more this week. And you'll have 4 games under your belt that will all have been real big tests for this squad.
Yep. And we'll get maybe one practice on Monday. And I think we come back with Winnemac on Tuesday. So another conference test. So our practices right now have kind of been pregame practices. They've kind of been light, but hopefully our game schedule has to slow down a little bit where we can start to implement a little bit more as the season goes on. But and you go back to talk about Lake Park Audubon a little bit on Friday coming. It'll be good to have a home game, and then they're not only a conference game, but now this year they're also a section game for us as well too. So that'll be an important one. Probably them and Park Christian are definitely the 2 most important of the week, just because they're a section game. But Cass Lake's going to be a lot of fun for a top 10 matchup in the state. So at least
exactly.
So.
Minnesota basketball news puts that as a 6-2 to start this season. So I guess we'll see where it takes. That, like we say, should be fun. And like you mentioned, not everybody remembers this, but that was part of the realignment, moving to Section 6 for Section 6A boys. So that does change things this March.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, we're Section 6 now, so Section 6 looks loaded. The more I learn about it, it's going to be tough for sure. Of course, we're familiar with the Pine to Prairie teams in there, but Henning, BEE, West Central area, Hillcrest Lutheran Academy, all those teams have lots of talent on them, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple too. I guess Porter West had a great run last year. I know they graduated pretty heavy, but I'm assuming they bring back some talent, and of course the coaching staff that probably has that experience with it too. So like I said, I think our schedule is set up for us to be successful in March. We might lose 10 games throughout the regular season, but I think we'll definitely be in a position where we're at least playing our best basketball in the March, because like I said, we've been tested. We've seen pretty much any style that we can throw at. So I think our boys are talented enough to be able to match up with any style that teams have as well too. So
looking forward to it, Nate. Good luck as the season unfolds. Congrats on the good start, and I know we'll be following along throughout the year, so we'll look forward to seeing you out in the gymnasium.
Yep, you bet. Thanks, Kevin.
Nate Mccraven, head coach, Ada-Borup-West boys basketball.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
As our Your Live Event Coaches Show continues here, James Carter-Lee joined by Fosston boys head coach Ben Hemberger. And Coach, season getting underway this week. How's practice been? How's everything been going for you guys?
It's kind of at the point right now where, the kids are just kind of tired of practice and they just want to get going with games here a little bit. And, totally new crew from what we had the last couple of years anyway. And, so it's just a lot of new information that these guys are trying to soak in and kind of learn on the fly as we go here. But all in all, it's been okay.
And you guys had a scrimmage last week, or at some point, I believe, at Clearbrook. How did that go? And you learn anything about your new team that you got right now? Yeah, we learned that we have a lot of work to do. It was good. I thought our kids competed hard. We saw we had 4 different scrimmages against, Cass Lake, Red Lake, Grigla, and Black Duck, and Cass, Red, and Grigla all figured to be kind of in the mix here this year with, in Section 8 this year. And, I thought we competed hard with all those teams, and, there's some things that we obviously struggled with and things of that nature. But for the most part, I thought we competed hard. I thought some kids kind of, showed some things themselves individually that day. So, all in all, I thought it was a good day. It was a productive day. And really, it is what a scrimmage is meant to be, especially that early in the year. Really had like 3-4 practices in, whatever it was. So not everybody has a whole lot of stuff in, and you're just kind of going on the fly. But all in all, it was a good day. You guys were in the section final a year ago, but you mentioned that you guys lost some players due to graduation now. Was there anybody on the roster who was a key contributor to that section finals run that you're looking to even step up even more this season for you?
We, as far as kids that saw the playing time last year, Hudson Bushy is about the only one that saw significant time last year. Came off the bench for us, is one of the 8 kids that saw time in the rotation a year ago. I expect him to step up his role this year as far as, the scoring load goes a little bit maybe. And, even with the defensive end of the floor too, we need him to really step up his role on that end of the floor too. I know Ryan Dupong early in the season last year when Aaron Norland was out with a knee injury, he saw some court time early, and, thinking back, I maybe should have, tried to keep him mixed into the rotation a little bit more than I did last year. But, when he filled in for Aaron last year, I thought he did a pretty good job. And then, once Aaron came back, then his minutes kind of dwindled a little bit. But, those two probably saw the most time. Hudson obviously saw time in every single game that we played last year. He played extremely well in our section semi game against Fertile Beltrami last year. And we expect big things from both of those two guys as far as leadership roles go. And hopefully to, get going in the right direction here early in the year.
And you guys, for you as a coach, successful last year, making it to the section finals, but obviously now some new look to your roster. How big of a challenge is it for you to get everybody acclimated, up to speed? And does it require maybe just a little bit more patience from you as you guys get started here?
Yes, patience is a good word. And that's something that I myself probably have to get a little bit better at too. And, maybe temper expectations here a little bit compared to what we've had the last couple of years. But at the same time, we, every time that we step on the floor, we expect, maximal effort and maximum competitiveness and that type of thing, and playing as hard as you can, or as long as you can. And, the kids that we have back, they had a very successful JV season a year ago. They went 24-2, but, it's basically the same team as, this year is what we had for JV last year, but, stepping up from a JV level to a varsity level, it's a completely different ball game. The speed of the game is completely different. The physicalness of the game is completely different. And the speed of the practices even are completely different. And, so it's just getting acclimated to that. There's a lot of different things that, we're throwing at these kids early in the year. And, obviously we've watered it down a little bit from what we've had the last couple of years until they feel a little bit more comfortable. But, we keep telling them, if you keep playing hard, and that's when the game will start to slow down for you and you can just react instead of think so much out there.
Just taking a look at your guys' schedule right away, you guys open up with 5 straight home games. How big is that to kind of get their confidence going and have that home court advantage? So they're getting some varsity time before going on the road in hostile environments. Kids are pretty resilient. I don't think it really matters necessarily too much where you play. I think they just want to play. And, it might be a bit of an advantage. I don't really know, I guess. But there is something nice about not having to get on a cold bus and going somewhere down the road. But, we got 3 games right away this week, and we turn around and come back right away again on Monday next week. So not a lot of practice time, a lot of court time as far as games go. So it'll be a lot of learning on the fly. And, like we keep telling the kids, just keep playing hard. And every year is different, obviously. But what is your brand of basketball that you want to see them playing throughout the year? What does that look like for you?
The last couple of years, we could probably play almost any style that we wanted to with the kids that we had. This year's crew, JV wise last year, they were at their best when it was, kind of chaotic, I guess. Just kind of, muck it up and, get out there and fight and scrap for everything that they got. And, it might need to be a little bit of that this year as far as the style that we need to play. And, obviously, the shot clock comes into play a little bit too, but, in the handful of games that we've played over the years over in North Dakota, or a couple games even last year with it, shot clock, you really don't notice it until you get to the end of a game. Within the course of the game, there's not very many possessions that go longer than 30, 35 seconds. And, but once you get down to the end, that's when it may affect us a little bit more. I know we've, kind of been a team that likes to slow it up a little bit towards the end and maybe take a little bit longer in possessions, but obviously that's going to have to change now. And, we'll have to adapt as we go.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the shot clock. Is that something that you guys have been utilizing in practice to try to get everybody up to speed on that?
Not necessarily in practice. We just kind of keep it in the back of their mind, like, hey guys, we gotta look to go here a little bit. But they did play with it a little bit up at the Jamboree in Clearbrook at the scrimmage. So they got one 25-minute half, I guess, if it was. I don't even know what it was for sure. 25 minutes of basketball with the shot clock. So they have done it a little bit, and I know they played a couple JV games with it last year too. So they're aware of it, and hopefully we can take care of the ball long enough to be able to get a shot off, so we don't have to worry about that. So.
And you guys open up this week with Bagley and then Winnie-Mac on Thursday. Other than being in the win column for those games, what are you looking to see from your team? How do you want them to come out playing?
I want to see if we can come out and play fast. It doesn't necessarily mean racing it up and down the floor and cranking it up after one pass or no passes, but playing fast in the half court, cutting hard, crisp passes, screening hard, coming off of your screens hard, those types of things. Defensively, I want to see us get out and pressure the ball and make teams a little bit uncomfortable with some ball pressure and that type of thing. And, playing physical, rebounding the ball and taking care of it. And, I think early in the year, I think maybe scoring could be a bit of an issue for us this year, but, hopefully we can try to create some things with our defensive stuff and, give us some scoring opportunities that way.
Well, Coach, best of luck this year, and we look forward to covering you all season long. And best of luck to you and your new squad this year. Coach Hemberger, everybody. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey growers, when working on your water management solutions, call Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. They are your water management contractor, helping you with tile drainage plans, service drainage plans, or both. Remember, water management is a lifetime investment. Call Chad 701-430-0182 to get your water problem solved. For more information, follow Chad's Excavating on Facebook. For tile drainage and service plans, call 701-430-0182. Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
Do you want that new boat? Are you building onto your home? Maybe you want the new camper or ATV. Dakota Heritage Bank can help you. This is Dustin Nagel, president at Dakota Heritage Bank Hillsborough location. You can visit with me or our other loan officers to help with loans and lines of credit from Dakota Heritage Bank. We are serving you with locations in North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota. Dakota Heritage Bank offers financial services you expect with a local perspective. dhbanknd.com. Dakota Heritage Bank, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
There's more at 104. Hillsborough, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsborough and see why there's more at 104.
As we continue on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, James Martin had an opportunity to speak with Thompson Tommy boys basketball coach, that is Brady Schwab. On the Your Live Event Coaches Show, we're talking with Thompson boys basketball head coach Brady Schwab, of course, the athletic director at Thompson as well, boys football coach. So we've had a chance to catch up a lot over this 2023. But Brady, as always, thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for all the coverage. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So as we were mentioning before the interview, kind of a first for you in a way, of course, familiar with all sports as the athletic director and basketball for sure, but your first year stepping in as the Thompson head boys basketball coach and a lot of transition as well with going from Class B to Class A. And the one nice thing you have is you got a lot of guys coming back from last year's fifth place finish. Kind of walk me through the off season and the first few practices.
Yeah, we've got a lot of these kids that have played. There's a lot of varsity minutes out there from last year. And, of course, anytime you bring in a new coaching staff and you bring in, some different bodies, there's always change. There's always new things. Couple that with the move up to Class A for us. And it's just a new year. It's a new, exciting time. And we've been grinding it out here, trying to get ready for that first game. And, we open up with Wahpeton, which is no small task, and jumping right into the proverbial deep end.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of guys on the team that are going to be able to come back. Drew Overby, Brandon Wolfgram, a couple of outstanding guys for you coming back here this year. Also, Carter Peterson averaging double figures from last year. Your thoughts on those three guys and the rest of the squads individually?
Yeah, those are three guys that we're going to have to lean on. They played significant minutes last year. You add in there Gavin Krogstead and Braden Tice, and then Thomas Schumacher. Those guys saw a lot of varsity time last year. So those guys know, what the expectation is at the varsity level. It's just, again, implementing a new system, new terminology, things like that. But, there's no question that when you've got kids that are back that have played in those games and played in state tournament games and played in high-profile games, that they understand what that atmosphere is all about. Getting them to share that information with those other guys that are going to step in, the Drew Odenbachs and those kids of the world that maybe haven't seen as much varsity time, but need to be at that speed. When we get the ground running here on Saturday.
And obviously a lot of carryover from the football season. A lot of these kids, of course, they know you well, whether they played for you on the football field or just walking past you down the hall at Thompson. But some things, of course, that are new, as you mentioned. What do you want to bring into the Thompson boys basketball program?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing that we've been talking about with them is just being, hard-nosed and making sure that, we're playing the game the right way. We're doing what we need to do to take care of us. And then, react to the game as it comes. So, whether that's buckling down on the defensive end, blocking out, running your lane wide, same terminology, same things every coach is talking about, nothing that they haven't heard from before, but, maybe just putting a little more emphasis on some of those types of things, individually, and trying to get guys to play a little harder individually. And if we can get that to happen, then, hopefully as a group, we're playing a little more hard-nosed across the board.
And talk about your staff a little bit as well. Jason Schwab and Shane Wall, assistant coaches for you. Let us know what they bring to the Thompson boys basketball program.
Yeah, Shane comes to us. He's been coaching at Midway Minto the last few years. He's been an assistant, so he's been in that spot before and has done a nice job. He's working with our post, and he'll be working with our JV. And then, of course, Jason Schwab was a head coach in his own right for a number of years in Langdon, and has, a lot of experience in coaching and coached under some of the icons in North Dakota, the Jack Domains of the world, and some of those guys. So it's great to have those guys on that have experience, and they have coached varsity games before, whether as a head coach or an assistant. And the more knowledge you bring in, it's definitely not a one-person show here. It's three coaches talking every day and working with those guys. And we've got 26 kids in grades 9 through 12, and they've done a nice job to this point. They've been receptive to what we've tried to bring, and now it becomes, what happens when the lights turn on Saturday.
And let's kind of talk about that a little bit on Saturday. Of course, we'll be there, yourliveevent.com, for the home opener against the Wahpeton Huskies. First time, maybe ever at the very least in a long time, that Thompson has played Wahpeton. Your thoughts on the Huskies in the opener?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, we've been talking to our kids a lot, that level of EDC basketball that Wahpeton's been playing in the last number of years is it's a different style of basketball, and acclimating to the physicality of it, and acclimating to, things that are going to go on within that 8-minute quarter, and understanding that 8 minutes is 8 minutes, and it's not 6.5, it's not 5, it's not 7 minutes. That when you have a shortened run where you're not playing well for a minute or two in 8-minute quarters, that can catapult that other team into a run into that next quarter or that next half. So, they're athletic. We don't know a lot about what they bring. Of course, you can see film on pretty much everybody you want now, but who's back, who's playing for them, and Coach Ralph will obviously do a good job with his team.
And again, next game after that is Mayport CG. You have kind of a sprinkling of Class B and Class A teams in there, as you might expect, with a region of only 6 teams. Your thoughts on kind of the rest of the non-region schedule during the year?
Yeah, we've got a really difficult schedule, in my opinion. We've got some longer nights. On Monday nights, we travel to Dunseith, we travel to Jamestown to play South Border. And that's just one of those things when you move up a class, that's to be expected. And trying to find quality opponents at the same time, getting your kids back at a reasonable time is important too with school. And of course, our region is going to be extremely difficult. We've got 6 teams in there, 5 opponents that are going to be top notch every time we play. And we know that. There's size in there. There's athleticism in there. There's speed in there. There's winning traditions across the board in our region. So, we're just within our region, we've got our hands full, and then to extend it out into the likes of East Grand Forks and South Border. And, we go out to Minot, play Des Lacs, Burlington, and Stanley, and some of those types of teams. There isn't a night where we're going to be able to step on the floor and say, we're going to win this game. They're all going to be dogfights, and hopefully that prepares you, when you get to the postseason and you get into that late February, early March time period.
Yeah, a couple of other notes on the schedule. Some really rough road trips. You have early on in December where you got 4 in a row at Carrington, Grafton, and then you mentioned Minot with DLB and Stanley. And then at the end of the season in February, you almost don't play at home at all with Dunseith, Grafton. You mentioned that South Border game, Hillsborough Central Valley, and Devil's Lake. I imagine those are going to be a lot of testing going on in those 2 stretches.
Yeah, I should have a meeting with the athletic director about the schedule and see if we can get some of that stuff fixed. Some of that just came to be with, the region schedule shook out, and trying to find, those 21 games. It got to be a little bit of a challenge later in the season as you lose some of those teams that you've played in the past, the Hatton Northwoods, the Park Rivers, the Larimores, some of those, and you replace them with, Dunseiths and some of those further trips. And you just hope, next year you reciprocate that and you get some of those games back here. But it is what it is. We're going to do what we can to show up and compete, against who we're playing that night. And then, try to be prepared for the next time we get a chance to play.
Of course, you mentioned some of the casualties of the new class and the scheduling, like having longer trips for games and teams you don't usually see. But I think on the flip side, you get a couple of programs that you normally don't see maybe until a state tournament, and you get to play them twice in a year. And Four Winds Minnewacan jumps out in my mind. And I know you ask every other coach outside of Four Winds getting a chance to play Dang Dang and Rick Smith and their crew. Your thoughts personally and from the team's perspective on getting a chance to play them.
Yeah, and that's a night in and night out, right? For us, just going into this region, just looking at some of those teams. And of course, I originally grew up in Devil's Lake, so Devil's Lake is near and dear. And Four Winds, I've known Rick for years and years, and they have a program that has risen to the top and is perennial power. And you can go down the list. I mean, Grafton in our region has been at state numerous times. HCV has been at state and won state numerous times. You get to Carrington, they're a little bit of a unknown for us, right? But they always have athletes that they run out on the court too. So yeah, it's an opportunity for us to see quality opponents every night. And, how we respond to that and how we respond after wins or losses will probably dictate, how the rest of the season is going to go for us.
Of course, we've talked about it with every single coach out there, the changes in the free throws. It's going to be a little different this year. And, of course, the three-class system. Brady, as an athletic director and a first-year head coach, anything else you want to mention to our viewers, especially the Thompson fans, on what they can expect this year at Thompson basketball? Yeah,
I think some of those changes are minute within the game. They may change a little bit, some of the late game things with the time, with the 2-shot fouls and those types of things. But as far as the game itself, it isn't going to look a whole lot different to our fans. Hopefully our kids bring, the level of competitiveness that our fans expect, that we expect as coaches, and they expect hopefully of themselves. And we put a product on the floor that people want to see and they can get behind and support. And if not, I'm not doing my job, and I got to find a better way to do that. But that's our goal for our kids, is to enjoy basketball and be the product that people are proud to represent.
Head coach Brady Schwab joining us from Thompson boys basketball on the Your Live Event Coaches Show. Again, we'll have their home opener against the Wahpeton Huskies, boys and girls doubleheader this upcoming Saturday. And we look forward to a lot of home games as well, boys and girls, on yourliveevent.com. Brady, thanks for the time.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
Oh, chew. Oh, I hate these colds.
It could be more than just a cold.
What do you mean it could be more than just a cold?
Let's hear from Brenda, Trail District Health Unit.
We always want you to be aware of any temperatures, of course, signs of dehydration, body aches, the sneezing, the coughing, the sore throat, all those things that maybe think you have a bad cold, but truthfully it could be RSV, influenza, and of course it could be COVID.
It may be more than a cold. Learn more at Trail District Health Unit on how you can stay safe during cold and flu season.
I'm Lily Bell. I'm confident on the court, and when it's time for college, I'm confident Bank of North Dakota will help me make good student loan decisions. Visit bnd.nd.gov/confident.
I'm Ryder Burris. I'm confident on the ice. And when it's time for college, I'm confident Bank of North Dakota will help me make good student loan decisions. Visit bnd.nd.gov/confident.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits, including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career, doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
As we continue now with Lisbon girls basketball head coach, that is Barb Sweet, and we'll finish off our coaches show this week with our senior spotlight with Elise Wisnewski from Central Cass. Joining us now from Lisbon, she is the head coach for the girls basketball team. That is Barb Sweet. Already had a couple of games on in the season with wins over Richland, and then came up a little bit short against the Sargent County Bulldogs in that rivalry game here between the Broncos and the Bulldogs. Barb, thanks for joining us. Number one, as always. Number two, early on in the season, always nice to get to practice. Always nice to kind of get those first game or two jitters out of the way with now that we're into December. So what have you seen from your team in the first couple of weeks of practice and the first two games of the year so far here, Barb?
Well, you're right. You can only practice for so long before you need to have a game. And it was nice to start out with a couple of what are now non-region games for us. You can practice against your second squad or your scout team, and you can see a lot of really good things, but you don't really know exactly where you're at until you get against a couple of teams that don't know your system. I thought, we came out kind of jittery against Richland, played a little tight. They've got a nice big post in Elena Schmidt. And I thought in the second half, we played more like the team that, we will become. And yes, Sargent County has been a rivalry. These girls play JO volleyball together. They're very good friends. In some seasons in the past, we've played them, three times, up to three times. So, and they have a really nice squad. They're tall and jumpy and big and fast. And it was good to have two non-region games to kind of get us to see where we're at. I thought we played better against Sargent County than we did against Richland. Just had a little lull at the end of the third quarter and then couldn't crawl back out of that hole.
As we kind of get into the season here, if someone picks up a roster this season here, Barb, there is some familiar faces. There are players who have, done really well in your program. There's some places that you had said in the old Class B Region 1 that were knocking on the door are part of that, all Region 1 a caliber regular season team. But who are going to be some players that you'll rely on as the season moves into the holiday season here? And then once we get into the 2024 portion coming up.
Well, Kyra Heckrell is just a tremendous athlete. She's a very smooth basketball player, and I've always said that she's actually a better basketball player than she is a volleyball player, and she's a pretty good volleyball player. She's added an outside shot to her game, which she's always had. She's like every kid; she doesn't like to miss. So if I don't take them, then I don't miss them. So this year, we finally talked her into shooting that outside shot, and that has added to her game and our team. Kaya Sweet has played a lot of minutes up at that point spot and has improved her ball handling and her vision on the court. And she's going to be looked upon to score this season as well. Kendra Differding put a ton of time in the offseason. She guarded Carly Cadoon last night and did a very nice job being outsized. Carly is a very good basketball player for Sargent County, and I thought Kendra did a tremendous job on her. Emerson Schultz is finding her way in that post and then can also go outside and score for us. So that's good. Ella Tui rounds out our starting five. She started last year. She's kind of gotten taller and a little bit broader. So, she can see over things and be more of a utility player. And then we've got Bria Sweet and Riot Wortman, and then Taryn Gilbert, a freshman who's kind of come onto the scene and done some really good things. So that top 8 is pretty solid. Our bench is a little deeper this year, and that really helps us out.
As you go into the season here, Barb, what's a trait or characteristic that you want this team to continue to evolve with? It is a new class this year. You're in the middle class of that 3-class system. You're seeing some teams that you played a ton before as old Region 1 Class B rivals, and you sprinkle in a Valley City Wapaton and some others here, and maybe some non-conference opponents that you haven't seen in quite some time, Barb. But what's a trait that you want to take from where you're at now throughout the rest of the season?
Well, we're not very big, but we are fast. We are fast. We have three girls off of a state championship 4x400 team from 2 years ago and a runner-up last year by hundredths of a second. So we've got speed. Taryn Gilbert brings a little height. Kyra Heckrell can jump out of the gym. So we're going to have to rely on that speed and on some defensive prowess to kind of carry us through. This senior class has always liked to run, get up and down the court, and those 3 next players and then into like Brinley Differding, probably my ninth player, they fall right into that. So, if we can get the ball to fall, we do a lot of shooting in practice. If we can get the ball to fall into the basket instead of out of the basket, I think we'll be right there. We always have played Valley City as a game. It's just never counted. But now we've never played Hazen in basketball. We're going to play Thompson. We've never played them. We've only seen Carrington maybe one time at a team camp, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So there's some new competitors out there that we're playing, and that kind of is exciting for the girls. Wahpeton is going to be tough. They were 14-8 in the Class A system last year, so they're going to be a tough opponent too. And then you add Kindred always has a great program, and Northern Cass is big and tall and fast and strong. So it's going to be a rough region. I mean, it's going to be tough. We're going to have to play, and all we keep telling the girls is if you compete, good things are going to happen.
As you look at it, Barb, here with some of those teams that you maybe have, so to speak, a book on or a scout a little bit because you've seen them compared to teams that you haven't maybe played as much, like the Hazens, how much fun is it? Or are you, okay, I haven't played a team, I got to look at a lot of film, I got to, scout them? Or is it more, let's just worry about us, let's worry about the things that we're doing and trying to improve every week? How do you kind of balance that as a coach now with this new system, seeing some old faces as we alluded to, but maybe some new faces that outside of summer basketball camps that you probably really have never seen their players or their respective teams here, Barb?
Well, we pay a little more attention to our region games and try to get the girls to play a little looser in those non-region games. Use it more as a scrimmage or a practice. Yes, your record counts. Your record makes you feel good. But just like last night, we're playing against a big, fast, strong team. Let's see what we can do against a big, fat. There's no pressure to win that game. So this crew of girls has always seemed to do better against teams they know nothing about, because then they can just play, they can just react to the ball. So playing, the Hazens and those kind of things, we'll watch and we'll kind of try to pick up some things that they do. But ultimately you just have to go out and play the game. We just keep telling them it's just basketball. You know how to play basketball. You know how to react. Just go play basketball.
And then this 3-class system, I know when it came out, the big thing was in Class A, we didn't know at the time when it was proposed, was it going to be halves? Was it going to be quarters? What is going to happen to it? Well, with the new rules across not just North Dakota, but across, the U.S. for high school basketball here, Barb, this 2 games that you played, have you had the double bonus up to 5 with the reset? Has that came much into play so far with Richland and Sargent County, where you've been the benefactor of maybe getting some free throws in the first or third quarter that you normally wouldn't, or having teams go to the free throw line where, okay, it used to be not even a single bonus at that bar, but how do you kind of view the 5 into a double bonus reset after the quarter rule this season?
I think it's going to be kind of a learning curve all the way across the board, even for the referees. And they do a great job. We're short on referees, and I try to stay off of them. But in Richland, I thought there were a lot of things that used to be called that maybe weren't. And I'm not sure if I've ever been in a game in the last 2 years for sure that we haven't been in almost the double bonus in both first half and the second half. And I don't think we got 7 fouls in either half in either game, total. So I'm not sure, if they're not sure how many to call or what's going to hit that 5, how fast are we going to get to that 5? Are we overcalling? Are we under? So I think it's going to be a learning curve for everybody. And we like to play an aggressive, fast style of basketball. So, if they're going to kind of let things go, that's going to benefit us too. And so, it's kind of new to see, how that's going to affect us. The halves, quarters versus halves is big for us. Just like you and I talked earlier, the halves benefit teams that have a lot of players and us. And if you look around the entire state, you'll see that numbers in girls basketball are way down, way down. And we can go on for days about why we think that is, but with low numbers, halves are not good. They're not good. So we're happy with the quarters. We're happy with the game. And as far as fouls go, you just have to continue to play.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a learning curve. I even mentioned myself going, "Oh, you're not in the single bonus yet." Wait a second, there is no single bonus again. Right. You're for Class A and Class B girls basketball this season. Barb, as always, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck in the coming weeks and throughout the rest of the year, and best of luck to you in the Broncos.
Thanks, Chase.
That again, Barb Sweet, head coach for the Lisbon Broncos. We'll continue on our coaches show after this.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsborough, North Dakota. The Hillsborough Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsborough. More at 104.
Join us now, a fellow senior at Central Cast. That is Elise Wisnewski with our senior spotlight this week on our coaches show. And Elise, for you particularly here, always fun to kind of know because you get peppered with everyone asking you where you're going to college, whether you're competing for athletics or not. So once you finally made the commitment to NDSU for track and field, just kind of take us through that process and what does it mean for you to, be moving on as a trackster going to North Dakota State?
Yeah. So just the process itself was a very hard decision. I was debating between Nebraska and NDSU. I really liked Nebraska's culture and the people that were there and the new facilities. And they were just completely different options. Nebraska was the new school, new different environment. And obviously NDSU, I've grown up in this area. And I think what it really came down to was just the relationship I had with Coach Vega. I feel like that just really solidified it and really made my decision. And so I knew that I'd be taken care of at NDSU and be comfortable with family being around here too. So I think that's what really made my decision.
And going into NDSU here, what are some of the events that you currently compete at here, Elise? You still got another year in front of you here later on this spring into the summer from the high school standpoint. But what are some events that you're hoping to compete at North Dakota State, roughly a year from now?
Yep. So indoor and outdoor. So just the short sprints, I'll be doing the 100 and 200 and hopefully the relays as well. And then indoor, just the 60 and the 200, possibly the 4, but I don't really foresee that, mainly just the 1 and the 200.
And then from the academic point of view, is there a particular program that made NDSU the right choice, maybe more so from Nebraska? Are you still undecided at that point? Where are you at least in terms of some of your studies?
I'm majoring in exercise science. Both Nebraska and NDSU had that. Most colleges have it, so that wasn't that hard of a decision factor. But yep, exercise science is kind of what I'm interested in so far.
What do you like most about the short sprints compared to the mile or the cross country version of running? What makes, that 100, that 200, so to speak, kind of fit what you want to do on the track?
It's just best at what I'm doing. And it's just where my skills at. And I just like that it gets done right away in 12 seconds rather than a 400 that takes a whole minute. It's just too much for me.
Is there a particular spot when it comes to track and field? Because I know when you talk with coaches, getting out of the blocks is always one thing. Making sure you have a good push at the very end to kind of stride that last, 10, 20 meters to make sure you get a good kick. But what's the one thing for you, Elise, that you enjoy the most outside of it being the short sprints, outside of it's, 10, 20 seconds, it's in and done. But what's one thing with that when it comes to the technique that you enjoy the most?
Honestly, just the fact that it is so fast. So you have to build up that speed right away and just maintain it or get faster as you're going. It's just so fast and done. You have to build up that speed right away.
Favorite sports memory of all time? Does it come to track and field? Does it come to you being as a fan of a particular sporting event? What comes to mind here, at least for one or two of your favorite sporting memories?
I'd say one of my favorite sporting memories that kind of snowballed into the rest of them is when I broke my first 100-meter state record. I think it was just really eye-opening because then that just tumbled into the rest of the years. And then one of my favorite memories was when our 4x1 or 4x2, I can't remember which it was, but we broke the state record and we didn't know if, for Class B, we didn't know if we did. And we saw the time show up and we all just had a huge group hug and a lot of us almost started crying, but I just love that memory. It was one of my favorites.
And you get one more year, competing at the bowl. What makes, the state track and field tournament so much fun from a runner, from a competitor's point of view, compared to maybe any other meet that you have throughout the season here, Elise?
The state bowl meet is when I get to see the most competition all season, and it's where I peak the most. Every year I've PR'd at the state meet, and I got to run against some of my favorite athletes as well. And so I just really think that that's the best meet for me because I peak the most and I get the most competition. So it's just the most exciting.
In track and field, I know sometimes that you might say one generation, you never talk to your opposing runners, you never talk to your opposing team. It was you're either good, you're on my team, or you're bad, you're on the other. But nowadays, Elise, do you feel that, or does everyone have a mutual respect because of social media, because of camps, because of going to certain things throughout? When you kind of grow up, that you kind of know a lot more people across the state. How do you view it when you have a really good runner to your left and right? Do you view them as, okay, for these 15 seconds, you're not my friend? Or is it, I hope you do well, but I hope I still beat you at the end of the day? How do you view it?
Yeah, so I'd say everyone's pretty mutual now. Everyone always says good luck right before the race, and everyone's nervous, so it doesn't really matter like your capabilities. Everyone gets nervous before a race, and so I think that the fact that everyone's similar in that way just makes going into it easier. And even just like at Howard Wood, when me, Kelsey, and Cece, we're all just laughing right before the race and smiling, telling each other good luck. It was just a really fun memory as well. And I just feel like everyone's mutual.
What makes a track different from any other sport, from basketball to softball to golf to, volleyball, Elise, or from your experiences? What makes track a little bit unique where it is that individualized, but there is that team portion too? But what's one thing, if someone was 13, 14 years old, wanted to get to your shoes, what would be something that you would kind of tell them about, track in terms of if they want to accomplish their goals, whether it's, being a all-stater, being a state champ, maybe having a chance to, run collegiately? What would be some words of advice here, Elise?
So track is a very family-based sport. I feel like at practice, you can tell everyone's just cheering each other on, no matter like what type of event you do, whether you're like a distance runner or thrower, everyone's just always there for each other. And that's what I've noticed for track. And advice I'd give for the younger generations that I'd want to get to that level of the D1, just college level of sports, I'd say is to just always work hard and don't overlook your abilities, because I feel like you can do more that when you set your mind to compared to what you may think you can do. So just like never give up and always keep working hard.
Is there a superstition that you have before you get to a race day or a track particular days, or like a certain song, or put the right shoe on before the left, any type of meal? Are you superstitious at all, Elise? And if you are, what's one or two things you got to do?
I have to have pasta every single night before my meet. I can't go without it. And I have to wear the same socks every single meet. This black athletic socks, I have to wear them every single meet.
Okay. Pasta, are we talking like just normal pasta? Are you talking like chicken Alfredo? What are we going with there?
It has to be like some type of spaghetti or Alfredo, like chicken Alfredo, or just regular spaghetti with marinara.
I like it. Elise, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations so far on your accomplishments, and best of luck here as your senior year continues to unfold at Central Cass.
Thank you.
That does it for the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Brought to you in part by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. Thanks so much for tuning in, and make sure you join us next Wednesday night for another edition here on YourLiveEvent.com.